In 2014, Dan Hanley and Mike Hill won a BAFTA for their editing work on Rush, a Ron Howard-directed film based on a true story about James Hunt and Niki Lauda's rivalry in 1970s Formula One racing. We'll be taking a brief look at the techniques they used to win them this accolade.
Well, it's a combination of factors, not all of which I'm prepared to discuss here.
The opening scene takes place halfway through the narrative ahead of a key racing sequence in the film. This is a technique known as in medias res, a Latin phrase meaning into the middle of things. Suspense is built for an enigma that Niki Lauda, Daniel Bruhl's character, leaves for his voiceover.
The other thing I'm remembered for is what happened on 1st August 1976, when I was chasing him like an asshole.
We don't find out what it is that Lauda is referring to until much later on in the film, as it then cuts to 6 years previously and relays each event that led up to that particular race. What this creates in effect is a teaser for the more action-packed and higher stakes second half of the film. As part of my research, I went to the 2015 Broadcast Expo at XL London to talk to Paddy Bird, owner of Inside the Edit and an experienced editor of 19 years. He went into detail with me about how action sequences are edited.
If you're looking at an overall process of jeopardy, tension or action, the one kind of thing you would apply to it is gradual and repetitive setting up and paying off of tension. You build up pressure and tension and then you release it.
Like a pressure cooker, essentially.
Yeah, essentially you're building up the audience's expectations. What's going to happen, that's going to happen. So you do that in a combination of ways. You do it through combination of the speed of the cuts, the speed of the action within the shot. There's things like the distance from the subject to the camera. If they're really far away, it has a much less emotional impact for the audience. On a wide shot, like if you go to a close-up, it's obviously a lot more closed, a lot more claustrophobic. So you weigh up and balance them in basically a thing called shot flow, which is how the shots are cut together and the logical sense that they make. Because essentially you don't want to draw the audience's attention to the fact that whatever you're cutting is a constructed piece of art. It starts and stops and it's false, so we have to cut those together in an overall grammatical way that makes people still engaged with the film and takes it away from the fact that it is make-believe, and it take days and days and days to shoot an action sequence.
A key part of the film is the archival footage of the real-life event shot during the 70s. Dan Hanley explains here how he implemented it.
The intent, at least my intent, was to try to have as much archival as possible. It was helpful to see that stuff because then we knew we could integrate it into like TV shots where it might not hold up on a big screen, but then a really great archival shot that you then put into a monitor. Take advantage of like scope and crowd and size of the track where you couldn't get that obviously because some of the tracks didn't exist anymore.
Another important part of the film is its ambient noise and the score. But in this scene, when Lauda closes his helmet visor, it shuts out the noise of the outside world. Christopher Rouse talks about similar minimalist use of score whilst working on Paul Greengrass's film The Bourne Ultimatum. Quote, "Paul and I absolutely didn't want to hear music during the fight. We felt it would feel more raw and visceral played dry, particularly the Tangiers fight since it occurs after a 20-minute musical cue. The sudden absence of the cue makes the fight seem much more real." End quote.
When we first started on this, we knew we were going to be hammered with footage on the races. At the beginning, we tried to just get everything working in a way that made sense, and then, as we got further down the road and the scene started to come together, then we were able to start plugging in some of these really stylish shots and some of these interesting, pieces that gave it the visceral impact that it needed.